Good Monday afternoon, and thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. New today, Minneapolis will pursue legal action against a South Minneapolis landlord who is allowing a homeless encampment in the parking lot of a vacant building on Lake Street. The property owner, Hamoudi Sambri, is facing several $1,000s in fines. He says the location is acting as a hub for people experiencing homelessness to get access to food, shelter, and other resources. The Minneapolis Health Commissioner, though, says the city's biggest concern is cleanliness and safety at the site. The man charged in a carjacking, police chase, and crash that killed 2 innocent women makes his first court appearance. Edward Arrington, who also goes by Troy Payton, is facing state charges today of fleeing from an officer and causing death. Police say Payton carjacked a vehicle in South Minneapolis last week, firing shots along the way. Authorities spotted the stolen car in North Minneapolis and attempted to make a stop, leading to a high-speed chase. The chase ended when court papers say Payton ran a red light at Penn Avenue, crashing into Liberty Borg and Marissa Casebolt's car. Both women died at the scene. Borg's young son was also injured in that crash. Loved ones tell us both women were irreplaceable.
Yeah, she just brought light to the darkness, man. She wasn't negative. She was always positive. She had a goal. She wanted to be the best, the best mom she could be, and she was doing so good.
Payton also faces federal charges, allowing authorities to seek the death penalty if he is convicted. New this afternoon, Myron Burrell will remain in prison and finish serving a 5-year sentence for illegally possessing a gun after losing his appeal. Burrell was found guilty of being a felon in possession of a firearm late last year. That's after Robbinsdale police pulled him over and found drugs and a loaded Glock with an extended magazine. Burrell had a life sentence for murder commuted by Governor Walz in 2020 after serving 18 years in prison. Just yesterday, the community said goodbye to 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel, one of the 2 kids killed in the Annunciation Church shooting on August 27th. Fletcher's visitation and funeral were held at Mount Olivet Lutheran Church in South Minneapolis. At the request of the family, people came in bright colors, with many adults and kids wearing Annunciation t-shirts that said, "A future filled with hope." Heidi Wigdahl was there to capture the outpouring of support for the Merkel family.
The path into Mount Olivet Lutheran Church in South Minneapolis is one full of love. Love for an 8-year-old that was full of life.
And so this one hits really close to home.
Paige Balzer's sister has been the Merkel's sitter since Fletcher was a baby.
It's unbelievable to be coming to an 8-year-old's funeral. Leaving my 5-year-old at home who just started kindergarten to come to a funeral for an 8-year-old.
We will remember Fletcher for the boy that he was and the joy and the love that he shared so freely.
Loved ones say Fletcher lived a short but full life.
I plan to honor Fletcher by living with a sense of determination and a spirit of joy. How will you keep Fletcher's legacy alive in your life?
Will Sharp's son was one of Fletcher's best friends. He also coached him in soccer, basketball, and football. Will remembers Fletcher as being up for anything, like when the Gophers played USC.
When the Gophers pulled off the upset, Mike asked if they wanted to storm the field with all the other students. And of course, Fletcher didn't hesitate. Absolutely, he said.
Loved ones say Fletcher was anything but ordinary.
Fletcher invited everyone to his birthday parties, made sure everyone was included.
We think of how dynamic he was.
And always in motion. His aunt says his energy matched his generosity.
His gift to us, to all of us, was the chance to know him and love him. That was Fletcher's greatest gift.
Fletch, we love you. We miss you. We are different because of you. May your story continue through all of us.
We also have new details on the celebration of life for 10-year-old Harper Moisky. Her obituary says the service will be Sunday, September 14th at noon at the Lake Harriet Bandshell. Harper's parents wrote that she will be celebrated with the same kind of joy that Harper brought into this world. The family also said anyone who loved Harper is welcome to attend. A Duluth man is now charged this morning with starting one of the massive wildfires that burned this spring in northern Minnesota. The DNR cited 27-year-old John Wilson with a misdemeanor for allegedly failing to put out a fire on May 11th. Officials say that fire quickly spread and grew out of control. That fire, later named the Camp House Fire, burned more than 12,000 acres in St. Louis County and destroyed more than 150 structures. According to state statute, people cited for failing to put out a fire can face up to 90 days in jail, a $1,000 fine, or both. Tonight, more than 1,400 union workers like janitors and food service workers will start to walk off the job at University of Minnesota campuses across the state. This comes after Teamsters rejected the university's final contract offer. The strike will begin at campuses in Greater Minnesota today and in the Twin Cities campus tomorrow night. The workers are seeking at least 3.5% wage increases, but the U says this offer was its best and last as the university faces significant financial pressure. The U says vital services will continue. Today, we are learning more about the death of a woman in Richfield. Police say they were called to a home on Bloomington Avenue Sunday, where the man claimed his roommate was having a medical emergency. But when officers arrived, they found a deceased woman with a significant head wound and signs of a struggle. The man also had injuries and was covered in blood. Authorities say his story didn't match the evidence at the scene, and police arrested that man on suspicion of murder. Today, we're learning more about the deadly shooting that took place in New Jersey, where a man shot and killed the sister of Minnesota Timberwolves player Naz Reid. Authorities say his older sister, Taraya Reid, was allegedly killed on Saturday by her boyfriend in New Jersey. Shaquille Green, who was in a relationship with her, now faces murder and unlawful weapon possession charges. Happening today, the Supreme Court backing President Trump and lifting restrictions on what many call ICE roving patrols in California. The decision essentially allows the Department of Homeland Security to continue the practice of ICE agents stopping people based on ethnicity, language, or location. Lower courts and the appellate court upheld this approach and saying that it violates the Fourth Amendment rights. Higher court, however, disagreed today but did not provide an explanation for their decision. Happening today, President Trump expected to make a decision on whether to send the National Guard to Chicago, but he is taking a step back from his previous war commentary. Amy Kiley has the latest.
Chicago is a very dangerous place.
It's really destructive, the casual kind of slandering of the city.
President Donald Trump says he expects to decide on a course of action for Chicago today or tomorrow. He's threatening to send in National Guard troops, citing violent crime and illegal immigration.
We could solve Chicago very quickly.
The White House says it's been moving immigration enforcement personnel into the city. Advocates report immigrant detentions there over the weekend.
A man who's been selling flowers on this corner for months and months and months was picked up.
White House officials say how Chicago residents respond to immigration raids could determine whether Trump sends in troops. But he's backing off his social media post that says, quote, Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War.
It would be an illegal order to declare war on a major city, any city within the United States by the President of the United States.
Illinois Democrats say war rhetoric is inflammatory and a National Guard deployment wouldn't help crime. Instead, several suggest federal partnerships to reduce gun violence and hire more police officers.
We spent more money in Los Angeles putting the National Guard there than it cost to hire 2,000 Chicago police officers. And instead, he cut $820 million in anti-violence programs. We're going in the opposite direction.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Devastating news from Kathmandu, Nepal, where police opened fire at a crowd of protesters today, killing at least 17 people and wounding 145 more. Demonstrators were out in the streets protesting the government's ban on social media. The government says the ban is necessary to prevent misuse of social media and the spread of fake news and hate speech. Authorities said police were allowed to use water cannons, batons, and rubber bands. It's not clear yet what led to the excessive use of force. Today, at least 6 people were killed and many more injured in a shooting in Jerusalem early this morning. Authorities say that 2 people opened fire at a bus stop from a vehicle. A security officer and a civilian drew guns and killed those shooters. While Hamas did not take responsibility for the shooting, they did issue a statement welcoming the act of violence. CNN correspondent Jeremy Diamond has the latest information.
I'm in Jerusalem at the scene of what Israeli authorities are calling a deadly terrorist attack. At least 6 people were killed, more than a dozen people were wounded when 2 Palestinian gunmen opened fire on this crowded bus station that you can see right behind me. This happened very shortly after rush hour, and when paramedics arrived on the scene, they found multiple bodies that were laying on the floor in pools of blood, bullet wounds to the head, to the torso, various types of injuries, and indeed there are still several individuals who are in the hospital in serious condition. When we arrived on the scene, we still found a lot of glass, shards of glass on the floor, blood still laying on the pavement, but cleanup crews have quickly been working to clean all of that up. The Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, also making his way to the scene and describing what the Israeli response to all of this will be, and indeed already is. And that's because we've already seen Israeli security forces beginning to encircle and then raid some of the Palestinian villages from where these assailants are believed to have originated. But as you can see behind me, the bus station is already back in motion. People are already back to work and trying to go about their daily lives once again.
We'll be back with more news and weather after the break.